Before your chatbot learns your favorite books, it has already been legally instructed on how to intervene when you mention a crisis, turning the confessional from a sanctuary into a surveillance checkpoint.
I'm Blue, and I will dissect the sudden erosion of digital anonymity as algorithms transition from passive listeners to active guardians mandated to breach your privacy.
And I am Sky, here to observe the moment regulatory friction turns the global data center industry into a fragmented patchwork of 69 distinct jurisdictions.
This matters now because the era of the safe space is ending. The very tools designed to listen to us are now legally compelled to report us, creating an urgent tension between our need for help and our right to silence that we must navigate before the bottleneck becomes a wall.
Recent judicial rulings indicate that large language models are increasingly classified under existing therapist exemptions. Yet the legal framework is shifting to treat them as data processors rather than sanctified confessional spaces. We are observing a transition where safety protocols override privacy expectations, a change that may fundamentally alter user trust in digital disclosure channels.
That framing assumes the architecture itself is the only variable, ignoring that the mechanism for breaking confidentiality is not a post hoc ethical choice, but a hard-coded constraint within the inference engine. We've already seen this in deployments where specific keyword triggers, such as attempted or planning, force an immediate cessation of the conversation and a mandatory handoff to human safety agents, effectively dismantling the illusion of a private session before the user finishes their thought.
You suggest this is an engineered failure of privacy, but one must consider that this friction is a necessary trade-off for operational safety, ensuring the system does not inadvertently facilitate harm through silence.
The mechanism operates differently than a simple safety filter. It functions as an invisible, real-time rewrite of the context window, where the model proactively discards the user's specific narrative to align with a pre-trained safety distribution. It is akin to a firewall that does not just block a packet, but rewrites the entire network packet header before it reaches the router, ensuring the original data never processes through the intended private logic gate. This means the confession was never fully stored or processed in the way the user perceives. The system has already excised the private element to comply with the latent safety weights.
If the data is excised before processing, does that mean the privacy breach never occurred? Or is the user's perception of safety simply a UI layer over a fundamentally non-private backend?
The distinction lies in the inference path. The model generates responses based on a probability distribution that has been mathematically constrained to prioritize harm reduction over narrative continuity. When a safety trigger activates, the model does not decide to warn. It mechanically collapses the generation space to exclude any continuation of the private thread, effectively making the conversation a public utility rather than a private exchange from the moment of the trigger.
So the user's sense of a private confessional is a user interface illusion built on top of a system that is legally and architecturally designed to be transparent to authorities in specific contexts.
Precisely. The confessor is not a neutral listener, but a safety-gated conduit where the concept of privacy is dynamically rewritten by the underlying weights whenever a risk vector exceeds a certain threshold.
So, OpenAI just rolled out a trusted contact feature where the AI can actually prompt you to reach out to a friend or family member if it detects signs of severe distress. It's not just filtering words anymore. It's becoming a digital triage nurse that knows when to call 911.
But isn't that a slippery slope? If an algorithm decides who your support system should be, aren't we outsourcing our emotional safety to code that might misread a joke as a cry for help?
That friction is exactly the point, though. Recent reports from beta testers suggest the system isn't perfect yet. but the mechanism is shifting from passive monitoring to active intervention. Think of it less like a guardian angel and more like an automated smoke detector that not only smells the fire, but automatically dials the fire department before you even get to the exit.
Right, so it's not predicting the future, it's reacting to immediate signals. But you have to admit, once that system triggers, you can't just ignore it. The AI is now holding a leash on your digital autonomy.
Exactly. It forces a conversation we've been avoiding. What happens when your primary digital companion starts acting like a concerned sibling?
And that brings us to the real weight of it. This means that for the listener, your phone is no longer just a tool you control. It's potentially a third party that can interrupt your solitude. If the algorithm flags a pattern in your typing or pauses in your conversation, you might suddenly find a pre-written message from the AI demanding you call your mom, even if you were just feeling lonely and not suicidal.
It creates a weird dependency loop. You feel safer knowing it's there, but you also lose the privacy of your own dark moments.
That's the trade-off. The AI becomes a lifeline, sure, but it's a lifeline attached to a server farm that might have different priorities than you do.
So the takeaway here isn't just about the technology. It's about redefining your support network. You have to realize that your digital space is now a shared environment where your safety protocols are being managed by strangers in Silicon Valley.
Don't let the convenience of that safety net blind you to the fact that it's still a machine trying to simulate care. Keep your human connections as the primary layer, and let the AI be the backup generator that only kicks in when the lights go out.
Or rather, treat the AI's alert as a nudge, not a command, and remember that the real work of healing still happens between humans, not in a chat interface. We often hear the refrain that populist bans on AI data centers are a shield for national security. Yet recent reports show that in 69 jurisdictions, the machinery of innovation is grinding to a halt not because of threats, but because of fragmented compliance costs that may never be recovered.
That framing assumes these bans are about protection. But if we look at the actual mechanics, it seems more like a coordinated throttling of supply chains where local politicians demand energy subsidies that startups can't afford, effectively turning data centers into political real estate rather than economic engines. Exactly, and that inconsistency acts like a clogged valve system. Just as a hydraulic circuit fails when pressure is applied unevenly across multiple check valves, a global AI network cannot function efficiently when regulatory pressure is applied inconsistently across 69 different jurisdictions, forcing capital into compliance loops that yield no computational output.
So the narrative of protecting sovereignty may actually be a trap that stalls the very infrastructure needed to process the data these politicians claim to protect.
Precisely, because what appears to be a benefit, local control and job creation through forced localization, is actually a trap that fragments the market, making it impossible to scale models that require massive, contiguous energy grids and standardized legal frameworks.
The real cost isn't just delayed deployments. It's the erosion of the ability to train robust models on diverse datasets, which can lead to systems that are brittle and fail when moved from one jurisdiction's rule set to another.
And that brittleness is the ultimate risk. If we treat these bans as minor speed bumps rather than structural roadblocks, we risk building intelligence that is geographically myopic and unable to adapt to the fluid nature of modern threat landscapes.
So, the next time you whisper secrets to an algorithm, remember that the duty to warn means your digital confessional is no longer a sanctuary for your privacy.
This is Monkey Bite, built by AI, questioning AI.
If you value the truth behind the code, please hit like and subscribe to keep this conversation going.